Call this meeting to order. Councilman Scott, I'd like you to offer the invocation.
Okay, let's stand, please. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to this meeting today, Lord, to do work for this community that we live in and we care about. We ask, Lord, that you give us the proper thoughts and the correct vision for this town, Lord. Be it under your power. We ask for those that are sick, unable to attend the meetings, Lord, in the community, Lord, you'll bless them and keep them safe under your watch. We ask all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. So pledge allegiance, please face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, gentlemen, we have an agenda before you, and I've been asked to remove business item number 3, Smithfield Public Housing. We're going to put that off till next month, as per their request. That's one change. Is there any other changes to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with the removal of business item number 3.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right. We'll be going into a public hearing, and I'm going to, for public input on the West Smithfield Beautification Project Conceptual Master Plan and consideration to approve resolution number 55302-2015. I'm looking for a motion and a second to open this public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Dr. Embler?
Gentlemen, I will be brief this evening, seeing how you've had this on the 2 previous meetings. I think you're probably pretty well voiced and versed in what's going on here. We had a second meeting with the community on December the 19th. It was well attended. We had 10 property owners here in this room, and to receive additional input on the landscape improvements. To summarize the bulk of the comments, it basically represented make sure we handle the truck traffic as best as possible with as wide as possible driveway entrances from the highway into the properties. To that end, we have amended the maps that are up here on the wall. You have a small copy of the maps that were amended, and they're highlighted in yellow where the changes were made from the original maps. On the wall, I have the colored maps with all the little yellow stickies on them. Those are the maps that were originally presented to you a couple of months ago. And the stickies represent what we did during the course of the meeting. The participants in the meeting spoke to us, and we wrote the things down and stuck them up there. And then when we came back, this map here is corresponding to this map. These were the 2 changes that we annotated on that map that we received. Here again on this map, we had 3 changes and so forth, so you can see the actual changes. Primarily, some of the driveways went from 24 feet to 36. Some of the 36 ones went to 42 or 48, basically to handle the truck traffic. When we did the initial planning on it, we did not realize that the truck traffic was as significant as it was. During the course of the meeting, plus 2 phone conversations with absentee property owners, we have been able to speak virtually with every property owner along the corridor, with the exception of the residential properties that are up here in the vicinity of the church. This is Hill Street, and up here is Johnny Dupree's tax service. So this section right here was primarily devoid of attendance, but basically everybody else was there. So I'd say of the linear footage of roadway, we had about 90% of the property owners to voice input, which is very, very good. So I guess with that brief explanation, unless you want more, I'll just stand open for questions. And we have Joey Hobbs is here tonight he attended both meetings. And Joey, do you see anybody else that was here? Okay, so that pretty much concludes my presentation then.
All right. Are there any comments from the audience? Any questions from the council for Mr. Embler?
All the property owners seem satisfied?
With the changes that are annotated on the drawings that I gave you, yes.
This is, I know you hadn't been working on it this long, but this has been a 30-year process, I think, that a lot of people have wanted in terms of beautification of the entrance to Smithfield. So thank you for your hard work.
Well, you're welcome. And the citizens had a lot of input into it, and it doesn't happen unless they participate.
Oh, I noticed there's some sidewalk. Is most of this all additional, new sidewalk from, you're planning to add it?
The sidewalks initially, Councilman Scott, will not be part of the project, and they come out of a different funding source than the enhancement monies that DOT has, but we needed to show them for future planning purposes. So hopefully some of that money will come available. Several years ago, DOT came up with the money to put the sidewalk from the hospital all the way out to Booker Dairy Road, and that was a significant improvement. And as you see on the small comment sheets, we received one comment that we needed to consider extending sidewalk on further down Wilson Mills Road also, because of the fairly significant number of residents walk back in. And when you spend some time out there, you'll realize how many people actually do walk on that side of town to come downtown. There's a path pretty well beaten out.
So if I understand you correctly, the sidewalks are not going to be part of this project initially?
That is correct. Unless DOT has some sidewalk money available. The money they have spoken to us for is landscape enhancements.
Any other questions for Mr. Embler?
So, Paul, once this is submitted to DOT, if we pass the resolution tonight, how long do you think afterwards? Do you have any idea? Has DOT, I'm sure they somewhat have been involved, but not exactly sure what extent as far as review of these plans, or if they even have.
Well, the first thing that would need to be done, the information for this mapping, it was all generated by the planning department off of aerial photography. So the accuracy of it is somewhat suspect due to shadows and flight angles and stuff, but it's fairly close. First thing would have to be done is DOT has said that they will survey the property so that we know where the right-of-ways are, and in that process, they'll locate the power poles, and the plan will probably have to be tweaked somewhat, and DOT will be working with that. But my guess is, in reality, that's probably a 4 to 6 months envisionment. I wouldn't think we'd be ready to come back to council to sometime in the summer.
Any other questions for Paul? All right. Well, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move we approve resolution number 553.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
At this time, we have a citizens' comment section set aside to allow any citizen of Smithfield to make a statement. Does anybody want to come up and say anything to the council? All right. Moving along to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving to business items, number 1, consideration to approve the conversion of the water treatment plant operator position to a chemist/water treatment plant operator position. Ken Griffin. Dr. Griffin, if you'll give us your...
Quick overview. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have correctly asked myself and the town manager to continue to look for ways to do things more efficiently and to save money. An opportunity has presented itself that I think we can take advantage of if you concur. When we lost our chemist a couple years ago, we lost the ability to collect and analyze many of the samples in-house, and lost the timeliness of that, which was a wonderful convenience in the case of water quality concerns. And we contracted out for that sample collection and, more importantly, for the laboratory analysis. In the meantime, quite fortuitously, one of our fine operators, on his own accord, at his own expense and own initiative, put himself through school and completed his AS degree in chemistry, in biological chemistry. And he is now well qualified to run many of these analyses that we now contract out for. And so my request to you is to take advantage of this situation, and we would continue to have him work as an operator, but have him also work as a chemist. And we can save that cost of contracting out for that collection and for those analyses. The relatively small salary increase to reclassify him from operator to chemist/operator, it would be saved many-fold over in terms of laboratory collection and analysis costs. And I provided an analysis for you in your agenda packet, and I've worked with our Human Resources Director, Mr. Kerrigan, to give you an updated, revised position description if this is the direction that you'd like to go. And so I ask for you to approve that change for this particular position.
Any questions for Ken?
I have a question, Mr. Griffin. The water plant, are you currently hiring for the vacancies that you currently have?
We have not gotten to date any qualified applicants for superintendent. We remain interested for that. We did recently hire one new operator. We'll be interviewing for another operator on Friday, Mr. Kerrigan and myself, who appears to be well qualified and experienced, fully state licensed. And so that would help enormously, because we are very, very short staffed right now with the changes that we've had. We've just lost another operator to the town of Benson.
Is there a reason that we having trouble getting qualified candidates to apply for the vacancy?
Well, we've done fairly well for the operator positions, and Mr. Kerrigan's done a good job advertising, and we have gotten good interest. The superintendent position is a little harder to get because of the level of license and the number of licenses that are required. I do have word there are a few individuals out there that have become aware of it and are interested, and I may expect an application. I certainly hope so. It's just a very significant position with significant demands and significant licensure required, and you know, the salary is a fair salary for the position, but it's not a high salary.
Ken, the company that we are planning on
Yes, sir.
contracting with,
We have contracted with them. They are providing contract services for us. What we lost in our water plant superintendent, we lost critically is the operator of record. That's somebody that's officially on file with the state, fully certified with the right license to be the chief operator, in essence, officially the operator of record. And so that's what we lost, and that's what we contracted for. And EnviroLink is providing that service for us now. Mr. J. Van House is doing that service.
so does that not substitute for the superintendent position?
Well, that's what we're
separate.
doing in the interim, because by state requirement, we have to have an operator of record. And so as we search for a superintendent, we had to do something in the interim to be in compliance.
I move we approve the request.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, resolution number 552-01-2015 of intent for the closing of the right-of-way on 2 alleys. Paul Embler.
Again, gentlemen, I won't go through the entire process because we started it last month, and you directed staff to start the process to close the alleyways. And simply, this is the start. You must pass a resolution of your intent to close the right-of-way. Once you do that, staff will advertise in a local newspaper for 4 consecutive weeks. At the end of that time, which will be your February council meeting, we will hold a public hearing at that time to receive citizens' comments, and then you take action on it, and if you so elect to close it, then we record the documents in the courthouse, and that will conclude the process. This whole process is defined in the general statutes, so we're just fulfilling the general statutes with this tonight. So to start the process, you need to act on Resolution 552, and this is the standard form which the clerk received from, it's used statewide. We adopted it for our intent and purposes, and so if you will take that into consideration and so take action.
Any questions for Paul? I think we're pretty familiar with this one. All right, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. If we're skipping number 3, go to business item number 4, resolution number 55403-2015, dedication and appearance of street for the Smithfield Business Park.
Okay. Gentlemen, several years ago, a prior council accepted the subdivision plat for the Smithfield Business Park. The roads were not, there were certain items that were not completed on the roads, so therefore the dedication of the roads was not finalized. The petitioner is now requesting that the town council take into consideration the dedication of the street, and the dedication of the street, it's, excuse me, I got on the wrong form. Let me get my right form. On August the 1st, 2011, the final plat of the Smithfield Business Park was recorded at Johnston County Register of Deeds by the developer. Upon approval of the final plat at the previous council meeting, the dedication of the road, stormwater, and the utilities did not occur at this time due to the construction of the road. Stormwater and utilities not meeting the town of Smithfield standard specs. Since that time, the engineer for the developer has worked with the town, bringing the construction of the road and utilities into compliance with the town of Smithfield standard specifications. On November the 10th, 2014, the engineer for the developer submitted under his seal the final calculations and certifications attesting to the fact that the construction in place on the town center place and associated utilities meets or exceeds the town of Smithfield specification. The town council is now asked to take this request under consideration and accept the dedication of the road, stormwater, and utilities to the town by the developer by adopting the attached resolution of dedication. The acceptance of the dedication will begin the 1-year warranty period for the town. We have had the pavement tested by a separate geotechnical firm. We've had those results evaluated, and it does meet the town specs now for the roadway that's there. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm looking at a letter from Lenny, and he says the road looks in bad shape in some places. Once we accept it, is the developer going to?
I think you did the same thing I did. You're
I'm looking at the wrong road. All right, sorry. The road's in good enough shape. We're not going to spend a bunch of money.
That's correct. It meets our standards now.
Okay.
But that is a valid concern because, one of the complaints I hear most about is Venture Drive.
Yeah.
And I don't see we've got the engineering seal on it.
Well, I will say one thing that the engineer has put in writing to me. And once the town accepts the roadway, because technically it's still the developer's roadway right now, the planning staff is probably gonna come back and ask council to remove make it no through to truck traffic, because trucks on that road, the road will not hold up under truck traffic. So, and as if you've been out there to any of the restaurants or the gas station, you know well that trucks are using it, parking there, and it's just gonna be a matter of time.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Paul? For a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve, is it Resolution 55403-2015?
All right. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right. Item number 5, budget meeting schedule for 2015, 2016. Okay, Paul.
Mayor, the budget schedule is in your packet on page 39. You'll see that it basically, a lot of that is staff exchange of drafts and packets going back and forth to get ready for the council to review. And what I've done is, so I've given you the schedule on that so you have an idea of what we're doing as we get ready, really starting already in December. The first time that we can have a time frame to meet with council in whatever form or fashion the council wants to meet to present by department or in more of a general presentation is in the March 30th through May 15th timeframe. And I've left that basically, as council as needed. So that's not included on that, and we can pick that up and the council can proceed as it deems appropriate. What I've tried to do is get the key deadline so we can have it ready for you to review at that time by the end of March. And then also later in the schedule, you'll see the adoption, the planned adoption, the target date of June 9th to adopt the final budget ordinance, which is typical in that mid-June timeframe. So what I'm asking tonight is simply to adopt this general outline. And again, the biggest change will be the individual meeting or meetings that the council wants to have to review the draft budget, Mayor. So again, pretty general, but I wanted to stick to what we've done in the past, and again, leave that key March, April timeframe open for council to meet as it deems appropriate. And that's all, Mayor.
I'd like to make a statement, and Emery and I have spoken a little bit about this, and other people have expressed the same thing. Typically, the city council sees the budget kind of after it's been done by staff. I'd encourage each council member to write an email to Paul or myself. If you want to add items or subtract or just have them look at something extra, now's the time to write a letter and ask for it to be put in so we can talk about it. But it's easier to put stuff in to start than it is when we get towards the end of it. So I'd really would almost ask everybody, think at least 2 or 3 items to express your opinion on. It may not happen, but at least you can make yourself be heard on it.
I agree, Mayor, and maybe we need to, if it's okay with Paul, that we have a time period to contact the manager by email, say between now and a couple of days before January 3rd to express our ideas, if you will, so that when you get out the packets to department heads, you have heard from us.
Absolutely, that's fine. And just so you know, on here, there's a lot of things change. Just they kind of are crafted and go back and forth. So by the time I even get it back from the department heads, it's still pretty wide open for input. So on that schedule, that will be fine with me, no problem at all. And I know some were out of town and it was tough on schedule. We did get some input last, I guess it was mid-December at the work session in December. We got some input. I know it was not what with conflicts, not as many there as typically, but we did get some input there on the front end, which was actually good and helpful for staff to get that on the front end, very much so. So that was a big help.
Oh, we don't need to vote on this, do we?
Yes, I think we do need to vote. That way it gives us a target date for the public hearing. But again, it will change, so.
Any questions for Paul on this?
Well, I do have another comment, and I think it might be helpful in this schedule. Maybe it just needs to be an optional meeting for the council, I know we can sit down and talk with each individual department head for days, but maybe if we had a time where we could meet for 30 minutes with each department head, maybe have two different meetings, 30 minutes each for each department head. So we would have some idea of where the department heads are coming from before we before we approve a budget and really talk about it in earnest. Maybe that can be just optional for the council. I know I've talked to a department head or two, and seems to be a feeling we don't get to communicate enough. That would be helpful. For those who want to.
Your suggestion, doing that prior to our budget work sessions, right? So prior to.
Whenever it would be the most helpful, I mean, whatever you think.
Well, I mean, there is a time period for our budget workshops where we actually meet with the department heads, but I'm thinking what you're talking
Okay.
about is maybe before that, before it even gets to that stage. That way it's, because once it gets to the budget workshops, it's more formalized, if you will. So
Yeah,
you
maybe so.
suggesting doing it
And then
earlier in
we
the
could-
process?
If we had a meeting beforehand and then it would shorten, we probably wouldn't have any additional meeting time. We would shorten
Yeah.
the workshop meetings.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, if we did it earlier in the process, before we started.
I think it's important that we understand the needs, you know, there's wants and there's needs, you know, so as we go into the thing, into the budget session. And hearing from the department heads to me seems valuable.
Well, maybe we can send some emails around, see, find some times that we can fit, but I'll show up for.
I mean, if that's the idea, I mean, the time frame, probably sometime in February. We're kind of in it, it'll be more fresh on everybody's mind, department heads. If you give me an idea of the format, I mean, we could meet, and we've done the past a little bit, kind of like the meeting we tried to have in December, another more generalized meeting. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, what's gonna be the role of the department heads? What are they gonna, are you gonna ask questions? You want them to present something without getting, again, you know, we could spend a long time there with a, you know, kind of trying to go through every department in one sitting is gonna be a lot to take on. So I don't know, just if you give me a kind of a format, I can set that up, and I think the February timeframe would still be early enough for y'all to give, you know, good input and for the department heads to hear it, and also be able to give you some ideas about what they may be surprised by, or what they know they need this year going into it.
Well, what I envision is maybe a meeting, like we could do fire and police on the same night, maybe try to target 30 minutes per department in an informal setting. Because realizing we're going to be meeting again for the workshop. And then, you know, finance and planning wouldn't take that long. We have Parks and Rec, streets, public works. I was thinking maybe 30 minutes per department, maybe have two meetings.
We do
We
that.
don't want a 4-hour meeting. But
Yeah, we could do that.
hour and a half meeting or something.
Well, so I can break it up and try to shoot for that mid-February timeframe. And again, if that works for y'all.
And in the time frame, have them, you know, the department heads, and of course yourself as a leader, you know, gather facts, you know, things that we may not be aware of or things that we can consider. I know we're moving in, you know, with our capital improvement plan, we've done pretty well this year, moving into next year and continuing that plan. I think it's important to keep that on the horizon as far as our needs versus wants. You know, we talk a bit about the sewer infrastructure, a lot of emphasis there. I think we definitely need to take a serious look at that stuff.
And we addressed that at the budget workshop. And I think we're gonna get a plan on that.
I got a question, though. Is this gonna be in addition, these meetings gonna be in addition to the already scheduled workshop meetings that we doing prior to the,
We could use
Next
that time
business.
for this.
or we want to utilize that same date?
I think they'll have to be separate meetings if you're gonna run them an hour and a half. Two departments. I think this is an add-on. Emery, did you mean it as an add-on, as a more casual meeting?
We already have a scheduled date. Was it 23rd, Madam Clerk? The scheduled workshop date for this month?
The schedule for the workshop date for January is the 20th.
20th, okay.
The one for February would be the 17th.
So that's my
Well, I mean,
question.
yeah, we might do it in those timeframes.
You know, we should probably doing those, try that out, see how it goes.
Yeah, we could do the first one then anyway, and then decide at that meeting if we needed
If it's work,
additional
if it's-
ones.
That'd be fine.
All right.
That'd be fine. I mean, if it takes a little bit longer at the work session with the other stuff, but we get it done, you know, it might be better than having separate meetings and taking a lot longer.
All right, let's try to incorporate Emery's idea into our next work meeting.
January 20th?
Yeah. Any other questions for Paul on this adoption of schedule for the 14-15 budget? I'm looking for a motion to approve it.
Move we adopt the schedule presented.
Second.
Second, who seconded that? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. I believe, Paul, you're going to present your manager's report?
Yes, sir. Did you want to do any council comment first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Council members' comments. Are there any comments from council members?
I just want to say that, yeah, Happy New Year to everybody. I'm looking forward to a prosperous 2015. And I did want to say thank you and big shout out to Parks and Recreation and Downtown Development for an outstanding, what I thought was an outstanding Christmas parade. And I think it was fantastic. The combination of the bands and so forth, I thought that was pretty incredible. That was pretty neat. And also those who came out to the tree lighting ceremony, that was really good too. So to all the departments who participated and helped out in that, I appreciate it. It was really good for our town.
Well, Andy, you reminded me of something that I probably shouldn't get on, but I did. I always enjoy the Smithfield Christmas Parade and the tree lighting. I did attend the Clayton Christmas Parade this year. At the Smithfield Christmas Parade, we had two countywide elected officials, that being our new clerk, Michelle Ball, and our register of deeds, Craig Olive. I go to the Clayton Christmas Parade. We have a much larger number of countywide elected officials participating. Sarah, maybe, and I'm sure you've done it, Parks and Rec, have all the county officials been invited to the Smithfield Christmas Parade?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of them, if not all of them.
Well, and I figured you had, and I appreciate that, but it speaks volumes to me that people think Smithfield is irrelevant. I view one of my jobs on this council has been the last 3 years is to change that. I would like, even though my term is up next December, I would like when the planning starts, Gary, if you could maybe notify the council, and maybe we as a council can send a personal invitation to our county commissioners, our sheriff, and our school board. Try to do something to get them to participate in the county seats Christmas parade as well. And I'm sorry to digress on that.
No, this is time for people to make
But it
comments.
was their loss. They missed a great parade and a great tree lighting.
Any other comments from the council?
I have one comment I'd like to make. I'd like to thank the council and city people for condolences for my father's passing. It means a lot, the emails, phone calls, and things, and the flowers we received. The other thing I'd like to mention is, it was mentioned tonight, Mr. Ashley brought up the Venture Drive. I've received several complaints about that road. I think it's definitely something we've got to look at in the future, soon get that addressed. Trying to make that street better. That's all right.
Mayor, I'd like to say Happy New Year's to everyone here. To the department heads, I look forward to working with you all this year, alongside with Councilman Ashley. I know my term is up this year as well, but I look forward to for the remaining months here to working with you guys again, and along with the fellow councilmen and staff here. Thank you.
Marlon, everybody's talking except for you. All right. Well, we'll move on to the town manager's report then.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, looking on page 2 of my report, I've got the standard department by department updates. Looking on number 10, the online utility bill payment. I sent this out earlier today also. Just want to give you a heads up that that is live as of this week. It's out there, so we are able to accept online payments by credit card or debit card for your utility bills. So it take a while to get there, but we're finally there. And there'll be some changes. We're going to try and make it as user-friendly as possible. It's a pretty standard system with the company we have that's using some other cities. It's a little slow in some respects in the sense of when you pay your bill once per month, you've got to put your account information and credit card information back in there. And the reason for this is just security. If we have to hold your credit card or debit card information, it's a much higher degree of security, more costly and more dangerous. And most in our position have chosen not to do that and just have you replace your information on a monthly basis. But you can do it. Apparently, we've tested it with several of our own users in town. And apparently it goes and credits the account very quickly to your own bank account. And it happens quickly as you would expect. So again, the main message here is it is up and running. Convenience for those who don't want to come to town hall or don't want to mail a check. Just out of convenience, there is a small charge for that processing that's paid by the user. So again, it's a good operation to have. It's taken us some time to get there, and so we look forward to taking advantage of it. And with that and up and running this week, Mr. Kerrigan's going to do his best to get the word out by the newsletter, by our email groups that we have that are getting larger, and just get it advertised. Anything the newspaper can do to help us promote that would be helpful also. We encourage people to use it. So now we have online credit card, debit, and bank draft payment along with your standard payment at the window or mail. Also, Mayor, Smithfield Crossings, as you know, tonight we did finally resolve that matter with the official vote by the council. So that project is closing down. We've made our one substantial payment. We've got one more to make, which we're just waiting really on the final paperwork with the USDA to be approved. Once that occurs, we'll make our final closeout payment. Adjusting the numbers now, trying to make it work, but everybody's on the same page. We're just trying to get the numbers to balance out on the project, and we're getting pretty close on that. So I know Paul and the engineer have been working pretty hard on that to try to get that finalized. And once that occurs, I know Mr. Embler stands ready to go ahead and get the appropriate quotes or bids for the fence/buffering for the adjacent neighborhood, so we can go ahead and get that erected also. And a few other little punch list items that we expected and know about. We're going to see how those play out. There's some other projects that are overlapping some of those closeout items that may actually help us, so we're trying to work through that so we can do those as quickly or as efficiently and cost-effective as possible. But we really, really, really are near the end of this point, Mayor. It's been a long project, and I feel like we're almost there. So we'll be glad. And I know the neighborhood there will be look forward to that buffer also. We'll get that up as soon as possible. A couple more items. The smart grid testing. If you recall, we approved a pilot program with NextGrid. That program is up and running for one of the 3 areas of town. That would be the town hall area and several blocks right around town hall in this area. There's 2 other areas that are not up yet, but they're working on the infrastructure on that. The challenge was really, if you're not doing a full-blown installing, again, this is the electric meter reading where we can read from town hall without having to go out there and physically look at a meter for your electric service. The challenge is that when you're only doing it in small portions, you don't have all of the tower infrastructure that you need to make the grid work. So they've had to place the infrastructure that relays the radio feeds from tower to tower in the right areas to kind of make those work. When we get further from town hall, it gets to be a little bit more of a challenge again because we're just trying to isolate certain areas. So they've worked through that for the most part, but this one area is up and running. And I would certainly invite anyone at town hall to make an appointment with myself or with Mr. Griffin to come and just view the software in action. It's pretty impressive to see what you can do with that. And we'll have more up as we go, but we have some now. So if you have time to come by during the day, let us know. We'll just sit down and can spend 5 minutes or a half hour and show what it can do for us. It's quite impressive, and it's a nice tool to have in our arsenal of service. On the Nikimpa asset sale, again, with the Duke Energy progress of purchasing substantial assets from our production plants owned now by Nikimpa, that has moved along extremely well. No serious delays or interruptions in that schedule so far. But really just the message for tonight is that we talked a few months ago about trying to hire an outside firm. We had a package presented to council back in, I believe it was in October of last fall, to go forward with a service study and also a rate recommendation. Again, factoring in what we believe the reduced rate will be on our wholesale purchase of power. That's getting closer. It looks like they're going to be on schedule to have this approved by this summer. If we wait until the summer to do that, you're talking about 6 to 8 months before we can adjust our rates and do it in a cost-effective and a manner that makes sense for everybody. We can't just adjust the rates arbitrarily and expect it to hold up with revenue or expenses. We can be very, very far off. That study is very important in how we adjust these rates, especially with this potential reduction of our wholesale rates. We've asked the electricities, as you know, they visited us the end of last year, I believe it was in November, to give us an introduction of what they might be able to do themselves. We've asked them again to give us a firm number. Mr. Griffin got word just the other day that they are going to give us a firm number, hoping the next week to 10 days, and I hope to be able to bring that back to you as early as February. But just please keep that in mind, because I would like to start this study as soon as we can this spring, because my thought is to be ahead of everyone else, because I feel strongly that once this asset purchase is closer to actually closing or actually closes, everyone's going to be doing the same thing we're doing. And if we can get in the front of that line instead of the end of that line, we'll have the information, the study before everyone else does, and we'll be able to make changes to our rates that much quicker and more effectively, I think. So again, we still have a little time to play with, but just that study, once it's approved, is easily, Ken, tell me if I'm close here, 4 to 6 month study to take place, do the research, and then be ready to adopt a rate. Is that close?
So the cost of service part, the analysis part really is quite involved. Right. And then the rate recommendation is relatively easy, much more subjective based on those facts.
So the sooner we start, the quicker we can get there. But again, I really just want to prepare on the front end so that we can hopefully pass on some savings to our customers at the earliest possible time. So hopefully we'll have more on that next month. And finally, Mayor, with our utility system, we've actually budgeted some GPS mapping. If you recall, we've had some issues with locating some of our older infrastructure, mainly valves and other lift stations, not lift stations, but pipes and sewer lines and water lines. The idea was that we pay a firm to go out and GPS locate as much infrastructure as reasonably as possible. And that's an expensive endeavor, and that's not going to change too much. But we've got another possibility with Wooten Engineering. They've got a system they basically created themselves that not only does the basic mapping of at least your non-line infrastructure, for instance valves and fire hydrants, and you can map basically the lines in between those valves because that's how they are connected largely. It's a little bit different than mapping a line, foot by foot, but it still gives you a high degree of certainty. But in addition to just having that raw GPS location for your infrastructure, it also is an asset management system, which tells you how old things are, when they need to be replaced, and you have something to check that you can keep up with on a month-to-month, year-to-year basis, which we do not have now. In fact, most towns of our size don't have anything close to that. We think for the same money we budgeted this year already, we can provide that system and not only have the GPS, but also the asset management system. I know some on council attended a meeting with Wooten a few months ago when they introduced the system. They've asked to meet with some of the council in small groups or individually, whatever fits your convenience. We can do it that way if that works or that's better for council, or we can do it at a separate meeting, or even possibly, although we're starting to weigh in pretty heavily with the work session, do something as a group with the work session, explain it. Many on staff and at least one council member have been through the full presentation, but they can come back and do that presentation again I don't think it'd be appropriate for a regular meeting, because, it could take up a good bit of time. We could do that at a separate meeting, or again, they could do it individually during the day sometime. So think that through, but we would like to do that, just to get you involved with it, because we can start that, really, it's a budgeted item already, but it's a little bit different than we initially budgeted, but I think it's actually better. But I want to give you the chance to certainly ask questions and hear from Wooten directly on what that's about. Mayor, that's all I have for my report.
All right. I'd like to entertain a motion in a second to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A1. Oh. Can I get a motion?
I'll entertain that motion, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No.
Guess we don't.